Well, welcome to Chapter 10, Legally Required Benefits. You'll find this to be a rather short lecture, just simply because these benefits are pretty well defined by the government and things that you can't really do a whole lot about, but you need to know about, and the text does a good job of that. But let's turn our attention anyway, briefly, to legally required benefits. As you may have gleaned from previous comments I've made, I'm generally skeptical of most things that are legally required by government entities. Now, that's not unpatriotic. It's just a healthy realization that whenever the government bureaucrats get involved, things have a tendency to go awry. But I must admit that this group of benefits, even with the bureaucratic glitches, do a lot of good for a lot of people. Benefits protecting workers in the areas of unemployment insurance and disability insurance and retirement benefits and Medicare, workers' comp, family medical leave, health insurance, and many more. These benefits cover a lot of territory and provide cushion or a softer landing for employees when hardship is encountered. I initially thought that there is not much to say about this topic, but that's not exactly true. There's plenty to say, but just not much other than covered in the text already. But these benefits are complex, and they have huge bureaucracies built to regulate and manage them. There is almost no limit to the nuances and detail in these required benefits. Workers' compensation is not simple and varies from state to state. Family and medical leave is not just about getting time off. Unemployment insurance is not simply paying people who don't have a job. Each benefit includes complicated eligibility rules, waiting periods, disqualification terms, payment regulations, etc. They are complicated enough that there are people like attorneys and other professionals who make a living understanding and interpreting the regulations governing this group of benefits. And that is what you should take from this chapter: a thorough understanding of the purpose, use, rules, and regulations governing required benefits. You should understand them enough to know when trouble is on the horizon so you can change course or ask for outside professional help. It's kind of like the tax laws governing filing your personal income taxes. I could complete the tax forms and file on my own. I've done that. However, currently my taxes are more complex, and I know I may be getting into dangerous territory, so I hire an outside professional accountant to complete my tax forms for me every year. Another point that is touched on briefly in the text is tremendous cost of this group of benefits. Yes, the cost is borne by organizations in workers' compensation, unemployment insurance, FICA, etc. But significant cost is also borne by each of us as taxpayers. Now, I'm not implying that we should do away with legally required benefits, but I'm just pointing out that nothing is free. Everything has a cost, even if we don't notice it personally. When employers are required to purchase unemployment insurance or health insurance at a particular level, they are prohibited from using those funds in merit increases or extra vacation pay or child care benefits, etc. Nothing is free, and once again, the size of the financial pie to pay for the benefits is limited. We as individuals trade the security of these required benefits for the opportunity to receive more in other categories of benefits and pay. And from my perspective, it's a good trade. Another interesting point is unions played a major role in initiating these benefits. To an extent, unions pushed for these benefits, and that was a major selling point for union membership during the heyday of the union. People joined unions not only for the promise of greater pay, but for the promise of many of these protective benefits. As unions became more successful in negotiating these benefits into organizations, the public clamor for the government to require these benefits became greater. As more and more benefits were required, the attractiveness of unions dwindled. Unions were so successful that they hurt their own business. It's interesting that I have not personally taken advantage of many of these benefits. I've never taken an FMLA leave. I've never collected unemployment insurance. I've never filed for a workers' compensation claim. I've never filed for disability payments. But I like the idea that they are there. I like the security they provide. I've never had anyone break into my house, but I like having locks on the doors. I've never had my house burned down, but I like having the peace of mind the fire insurance provides. Obviously, I've never died, but I like the idea of having life insurance. For most of us, it is not about filing a claim or collecting a payment. It's about peace of mind. It's about mitigating the risk of life. And for those reasons, these benefits foster wide-ranging approval and acceptance. And unlike unions, the appeal of these peace of mind benefits is unlikely to diminish anytime soon. This is an important chapter, if for no other reason because it represents a significant cost factor in all businesses. Read carefully. Understand the required benefits and the details and nuances of each. Be aware that these benefits are complex enough that you will likely find outside legal counsel and professional assistance necessary from time to time. And come away with an appreciation for these benefits and an understanding of how they can provide service to you. And finally, as the text indicates, these benefits are very expensive and even more invisible than the discretionary benefits from last week. The only time we really think about them and their benefit and consequences is when a change is proposed or enacted. Otherwise, we expect them. You notice that I mentioned consequences, and yes, there are big consequences from each of these required benefits, some good and some bad. But the old saying that nothing's free is applicable here. Nothing's free. And nothing is without fault. And it's important to understand the good and the bad. But I must say that these programs generally provide good consequences, particularly for employees. And after all, aren't we all employees in the workplace? And realize that the term legally required benefits implies that there are legal consequences for failure to provide the benefits or provide it properly. Legal consequences are never a good experience to have. So there are really two takeaways from this chapter. First, you should gather an understanding of the depth and breadth of these benefits from an employer's perspective. Secondly, you should understand them so that you can properly take advantage of them as an employee. For the most part, they cover everyone from the highest paid CEO down to the lowest wage earner. Now that's diversity.